Welcome to the Real Estate 401k Show. Here are your hosts, Ryan Gerdes, Mike Weinstein, and Justin Frederick, helping you build a legacy of wealth through real estate. Powered by the Recon Group at West USA and the Frederick team with Fairway Mortgage. NMLS number 625918.
You know, Ryan, there's a lot of things that I think that our team of real estate wealth managers do well. There's a lot of things that we do that the typical podcast listener or YouTube viewer is not experiencing with their real estate professional, because a real estate professional is not offering some of these services. One of them is the concept of Reconomics and developing a real estate 401k program. But there are a lot of our listeners. I am blown away on the amount of text messages we get from listeners out of state who own homes, and they own homes in different places of the country. My question to everybody is, when was the last time that your real estate wealth manager sat down with you and provided you a real estate portfolio review?
Well, chances are you don't have a real estate wealth manager if you've not gotten a real estate portfolio review.
You can have one by texting the word wealth to 623-AZ-RECON. Again, that's wealth to 623-AZ-RECON. Imagine waking up and having a real estate wealth manager at your disposal.
Right. And if you have any money in like a hedge fund or a money market account or anything like a 401k, you are going to get usually quarterly ledgers that say, hey, look, this is how much money you put in. Here's how much it was worth when you put that money in, and here's what it's worth now. Here's what it's done over the last quarter. Here's what it's done over the past year. Why don't you do that with real estate?
You should.
It would seem
so profound, Justin.
You should.
It would seem to me that if you have an asset that's worth a few $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, or something like that, you would probably have a better idea of what your numbers were than you would over something that you're putting in a couple $100 a month, like a 401k, right? So that being said, we said there's a big problem here, and so what was it, about 4 years ago? We decided, why aren't we just doing the same thing that smart companies that are handling funds? Why aren't we doing the same exact thing? And so all of our clients, whether they own just one primary or they own a huge portfolio of 100 doors, we've started offering those services. So the perfect person that is good for a portfolio review is if you own 2 income-producing properties or more. You probably don't have a portfolio actually written out, or you haven't had somebody actually review it that is as involved with the real estate market as they should be. So that being said, that is something that we want to offer to every single one of our viewers or listeners.
And all you have to do is text the word wealth to 623-AZ-RECON. That's wealth to 623-AZ-RECON. I remember it had to be about 3 years ago, and we have a mutual friend who was flying F-16s at Luke Air Force Base, now flying F-35s. And him and his wife, they own this house in Surprise. They came together in the merger. That's what I like to refer marriages as, mergers, right? She owned a property, I think, in South Carolina. He owned a property elsewhere. So now they own 3 homes, 2 rentals, but they're wanting now at this point to buy their dream home. And so the question was, which one do I sell? Because we need to pull money out of one of them. Which one do I sell? And I remember it was a Christmas Eve, and I went over to their house and sat in their kitchen table. I acquired, the information that I needed to know, and we went through each single one. And at the end of it this is the cap rate for property A, this is the cap rate for property B, this is the cap rate for property C, the one that you're living in right now. This is what the rent performers look like. And we were able to, through our real estate portfolio review, help them make an educated decision on which property was the weak link and offered the most the most equity in order to purchase their dream home. And you know what they did? They sold one of them and they purchased their dream home, and their dream home is really nice.
Mm-hmm. You know why? Because math, right? So if you might be looking at all these things and you might say, oh, I like the flow of this one or the color of that one. But at the end of the day, are the numbers performing? And are you actually looking at the numbers? And are you able to take those numbers and put them down in such a way that it is easier to analyze? And so just like those ledgers that you get from Charles Schwab, it's the same exact format that we put together for you, but it's all of your real estate portfolio. And then you can easily just say, right now, that's our weakest link. And so if we want to grow horizontally or vertically or whatever, this is what we need to do. And if we're going to do another acquisition, we need to make sure that it outperforms our weakest link. Or, you know what, maybe the new one is going to be the weakest link up front because there are initial or introductory cap rates or initial and introductory returns that may not be there, but in 2-3 years will be, right? And so that's another part of it because we always build our portfolio reviews out for at least 5 years. Most of these things, if you're doing flips, so on and so forth, that's a completely different review.
Right.
But the ones that you're having any intention on holding on to for any length of time, you're going to want to know what the next 5 years
I do want to get into the details of what our real estate portfolio reviews, but Justin, I just wanted to throw in the extra kicker in my story is the wife. She was a licensed real estate agent at the time.
Oh, that's great.
Right? And then,
that makes it even better.
But she did not have the skill.
Sure.
She did not have the understanding because she was, I'm not going to say just a real estate agent, but she was a typical real estate agent that we experience. And they recognize that
there's value.
There's value, even though she's a licensed agent and she can get paid and so forth. She didn't have that skill level to examine it and digest that information.
I think that's one of the coolest stories. Now knowing that's amazing because she basically swallowed her pride and was like, "Hey, I mean, we could use a lot of this money to buy
and we help
property.
her parents buy properties. She's
wonderful.
not even doing. I mean, just because.
Yeah, it speaks a ton for you guys. You guys.
All right, if you are looking for more information about your real estate portfolio and you would like one of our real estate wealth managers to dive in and really examine your real estate portfolio, all you got to do is text the word wealth to 623-AZ-RECON. That's wealth to 623-AZ-RECON. All right, Ryan, so someone texts the word wealth to 623-AZ-RECON, and they've got, 2 income-producing properties. They got a primary property. They raise their hand and say, I want a real estate portfolio review. What does that process and what does that review look like?
So once they text in, one of our real estate wealth managers will be reaching out pretty darn quick to set up a time to get on the phone and have a quick discussion with you to get an understanding of what it is that you currently own. And then, of course, we're going to need addresses. We're going to need numbers. And then we are going to put it into our fancy schmancy real estate portfolio analyzer. We're going to plug in the numbers, and then we're going to be able to.
It's called the Recon Analyzer. You got to throw the word Recon in front of it.
All right,
that's what we do.
And then we'll be able to provide you numbers that are going to be instant. And then from there, we're going to want to sit down and go over what your goals are. That is something that we can't put numbers behind, right? We have to understand what it is that when are you trying to retire? How much money do you need? Now, we're not financial advisors per se. Our specific goal is to help you understand where you're currently sitting, what your goals are with your real estate, and how we're going to get there and how long it's going to take.
All right, if you'd like some more information, all you got to do is text the word wealth to 623-AZ-RECON. That's wealth to 623-AZ-RECON. I think one of the other things that this real estate portfolio review does is because, like I said earlier in the show, we have many of our podcast listeners who text into the show. They live in different states, and oftentimes their real estate is in different states. It's also, Ryan, examining is your real estate and is your money parked in the right state and parked in that right opportunity.
I think a lot of people have these mental blocks that they need to invest in their own backyard. And that's not a bad thing, right? I think that especially if you're going to manage your own properties and you're extremely hands-on, that might be too big of a jump for you. But if you are focusing on the numbers and your total plight is on how can you retire younger or send your kids to college or whatever that motivation is in order to have you put your money into a place that's going to make you money, then that boundary between whatever state you live in to the next one is just an imaginary line. right? So if we're just focusing and following the numbers, that's a universal language. So I would implore you, if you feel like your real estate portfolio is just not performing, number one, get a review. Number two, open up your mind to the fact that wherever you are may not be the best place for your money. We are experiencing record highs here in Maricopa County. That's the greater Phoenix area. We're seeing huge numbers in parts in Idaho. We're seeing amazing numbers in Las Vegas. There's these hot markets. Of course, we're biased here because that's where we live, and that's where we've seen massive amounts of fortunes made. But that's not to say that we're not happy to jump across state lines and put our money somewhere else as well.
That's a great point, Justin, because that's one of the questions that I get asked is, do you invest in other states? Do you have any other investments in other states? And Ryan does. I don't. And then the follow-up question.
But you have.
But I have. Yeah. Okay, good point. I have.
Yeah.
Because wherever that opportunity leads me. But then the people go, well, why not? Why aren't you considering this state? Why aren't you considering that state? And to Ryan's point about Maricopa County is, I'm not to say that I wouldn't if that right opportunity presented itself. But at this point, with what's going on in the Phoenix market, I just don't need to.
Right. And it's right here. Yeah, I 100% would agree with you too. There's been times where I've wanted to jump into other markets like Nashville. I think everybody's heard a lot about Nashville lately, and it's such a cool place. I would love to buy a property over there, but why would I do that when I can look at my asset and here into the valley with me? But, maybe one day I'll get over there.
We have, Ryan, in my mind, the greatest accountant on the face of the planet. And I
agree.
Cindy Dillard. She is the absolute best. The way that she strategizes with us, the way that she helps us see our real estate portfolios and our business portfolios and things like that. And the one thing that I love about Cindy's program is we don't pay that annual filing fee. We pay a monthly retainer, and which means for the monthly retainer is we can text, we can call, we can send an email at any time when a situation arises. It's the same thing if you have a financial advisor. But a lot of people don't have that when it comes down to real estate. They've hired an agent to help them buy a house, help them sell a house, and then on the 12-month anniversary, the agent will send them an email, hey, happy home anniversary. It's so lame. That just drives me bonkers, right? But the fact of when you have a real estate wealth manager, you have somebody that you can call at any time and strategize and throw ideas at. And hey, we're considering this property. What do you think about that? It's a game changer for our clients.
Well, I think that particularly when we talk about the top 4 ways that people make money in real estate, there's appreciation, there's passive income, there's principal pay down, and then tax advantages.
Yep.
Everyone just seems to glide right over that, but if you are really looking at it, you are going to find how much money you're probably leaving on the table if you aren't giving the tax advantages element of making money through real estate its due and proper. It is one of the areas that most people are losing money. And so most people are always just looking at the positive numbers. They're looking at, how much money did I make here? Oh, well, I'm not making as much passive income as I want to off that. And it's like, what do you mean? The money that you're losing is sometimes more important than the money that you're making. And so that's really where her strength has really played into all this. And we found our portfolio reviews completely getting flipped upside down, and the places where we thought that we weren't doing that great on, we're like, hey, we're actually kicking ass over here. And then places where we thought we were doing great, not doing as great as you thought. And it boiled down to the tax element of it.
All right, we call them Recon Real Estate Portfolio Reviews, or at the very least, we're starting now, right this second, to call them Recon Real Estate Portfolio Reviews. If you're looking to have a conversation with a real estate wealth manager, having somebody on your side, part of your cabinet, part of your team, or you're looking and you've got some real estate, you're needing someone to examine it and prepare a real estate portfolio for you, our portfolio review, all you got to do is text the word wealth to 623-AZ-RECON. That's wealth to 623-AZ-RECON.
Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate 401k Show. If you want more information on how to build wealth, click on the link or text us at 623-297-3266. That's 623-AZ-RECON.